On Sports 1140.
Cattles off all week. Ramie Mackloff with you on Sactown Sports 1140. Check us out on YouTube. Same thing there. Sactown Sports 1140. Just look that up. Subscribe, like, rate, review, do all the things. Give us all the interaction, all the numbers that we need to grow this thing and give you even more local coverage here on Sactown Sports 1140. The NFL offseason is officially over. Few teams reporting for camp today, including the Las Vegas Raiders, who you'll catch right here on Sactown Sports 1140 all season long. And joining us now, he covers those Raiders for The Athletic. Pleasure to welcome in Tashan Reed. Tashan, how are you this afternoon, man?
Doing pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Good. How good does it feel to actually, I know it's the first day of training camp, and I know it's just rookies and a few other guys reporting, but man, I get excited whenever like the off season is officially over, and it is officially over today. Tashan, does this get the juices flowing for you too?
Yeah, I think that's one way to put it. It snuck up on me. It got here quicker than I thought it would. I think the nature of the Raiders offseason, honestly, it made it feel like it never really ended between the coaching change, the GM change, Devante Adams, Chandler Jones, hiring a new team president. It seems like they just continued to have a season after the season, and now we're here back again. But definitely excited to see some more football, see what this new retool roster, what this new hierarchy looks like, and get into it.
And there has been a lot of change, both all that you just laid out from the front office all the way down to the roster. Do you feel like the dust? Sorry about that musical interlude. Do you feel like the dust has settled here, or are guys still going through an adjustment period at all levels of this Raiders organization?
Yeah, I think there's naturally just an adjustment going on just because, things are a little bit limited in OTAs in terms of how often they can meet and what they can do on the field. And so they definitely aren't finished, when it comes to implementing a new system. Not just Josh McDaniels offensively, but Patrick Graham defensively, and implemented a new system and figuring out where guys fit in that system, and also starting a game plan for the team that they have coming up in the preseason and the regular season. So it's definitely still an ongoing process from a football standpoint, and that's going to continue throughout the rest of training camp.
The passing game should be pretty ready to go, though. Wouldn't you think, Tashan, with Derek Carr being the veteran that he is, and already having a couple weapons in Renfro and Waller, and now you add maybe the best receiver in the NFL and Carr's college teammate in Devante Adams, you would think that the adjustment period, if they haven't already gone through it with offseason activities, it should be pretty quick for the passing game in the Raiders offense, right?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, Derek Carr, he's a guy that, I guess unfortunately for him, he's had to play for a lot of different offensive coordinators and play callers throughout his career. And so having to adjust to a new system in a short amount of time isn't something that he's new to, right? And so Josh McDaniels really was impressed with how quickly he picked it up during OTAs, and obviously as a leader of the team and the quarterback, that got to translate out through the rest of the passing offense. And he has that chemistry with Devante Adams, not only from college, but before the pandemic started, they would work out together pretty often in the off season. And so, it's been a couple of years. It's not like they haven't thrown the ball between one another for 10 years since college, right? And obviously, he has a huge amount of chemistry with Hunter Renfro and Darren Waller, and that arguably could be the best receiving trio in the league when you add it all up. I think the main concern for them in the passing game is Derek Carr going to have enough time. The offensive line was really bad last year, and it's pretty much the same group this year. And so, they have a new offensive line coach, Carmen Brasillo, obviously a new system. So we'll see if that, plus, progression for some of the young guys like Alex Leatherwood and Andre James, if that makes the unit better. But if the offensive line continues to struggle, that's going to cause some problems with the passing game.
Yeah, and I was just about to ask you about that offensive line. Talking with Tashan Reed, covers the Raiders for The Athletic here on Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140. And I was going to ask about what you just brought up, Tashan, which is that unit that struggled last year and not a lot of changes. Do they just expect the growth from within with a couple of young guys up there on the line and the change in coaching to bring the level of play up across that offensive line this year?
Yeah, I think they were aware that, it'd probably be good if they made some additions on the offensive line, but they had to make choices, right? I mean, they threw out a lot of money this offseason between, giving Devante Adams his new deal, signing Chandler Jones, signing Bilal Nichols, extending guys like Derek Carr and Hunter Renfro and some others. And so You can only make so many additions, right? And so offensive line was a position group that they decided, pretty much they're going to run it back. They drafted Dylan Parham, an interior offensive lineman, in the third round. He'll have a chance to compete at guard and center. But most likely it's going to be a similar group to what we saw to start the season last year. And so, they're going to have to, bank on development for those young guys. As I mentioned, Leatherwood, and Andre James, and John Simpson. And, we know what Colton Miller is at this point. He's one of the better left tackles in the league, but he's really the only sure thing when it comes to having a quality offensive lineman on this roster. And so that's going to be something, I would say, the biggest storyline to watch throughout training camp. How does that offensive line come together? Who wins those starting jobs? And in the preseason, I don't expect we'll see too many starters playing out there, but, how do they hold up in practice, kind of going half speed? And then once the season gets here, in the AFC West, with some of the pass rushing duos that are out there, familiar face Khalil Mack, going to the Chargers and some other guys, they're going to have to be right. Otherwise, like I said before, the passing game isn't going to be what it fully could be.
One more thing on that passing game. Before I came here to Sacramento, literally just a few weeks ago, Tashan, I spent the better part of the last 10 years in Milwaukee and spending a lot of time talking about the Green Bay Packers. So I have a pretty good idea of this Devante Adams fella, and you got a good one out there in Las Vegas. What's been your early impressions of Devante Adams in his introductory press conference and your experience of him in the offseason, the little taste that you've gotten?
Yeah, I'll say due to their structure in terms of where media have to stay in that practice, I didn't see a whole lot of Devante Adams during OTAs, as he's about 2 football fields away from me most of the time. But, in terms of just him as an individual, I mean, he's, in press conferences, it hits you right away how insightful he is, not just, how he views the game, but, asking personal questions about his background and questions into, what led him to want to come to the Raiders and join Derek Carr and things of that nature. He's just very detailed in his answers, very level-headed. You can tell he understands what he's talking about, obviously. And, that's not always the case with great players. Sometimes guys are just really talented and, kind of figuring it out from there. But he's a complete product. And, there's no doubt in my mind anyway that he's the best receiver in the league. And, with that chemistry that he has with Derek Carr, I think he'll have another big season. He may not, have the numbers people are used to seeing with him, because I can't remember, a time with the Packers where he had a number 2 and a number 3 option that were as good as Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow are. So just by necessity, he's probably not going to need 150 targets or whatever he was getting with the Packers, but I still think he's going to be the same caliber of player.
Tashan, one more for you. I think the Raiders have done a lot this offseason to move forward, from the coaching hires to the Devante Adams acquisition, but they're in one of the toughest places to play in the NFL, out in the AFC West, with the Chiefs being the perennial contenders that they are, the Chargers and an up-and-coming quarterback in Justin Herbert, and then the Broncos go out and get Russell Wilson this offseason. Do you feel like the Raiders made ground in the AFC West from wherever they were last year to where they are this year? Do you feel like they've made some ground in the division and are in a better spot than if I was talking to you 1 year ago today?
That's a tricky question. I think they're a better team, but I'm not sure they're going to be in a better spot in the division. Mm-hmm. Last year they finished second behind the Chiefs, on the way to making the playoffs. I don't know if, I can't say that I think they're the best team in the division. It's close. They made upgrades along with the Chargers, and the Broncos obviously get Russell Wilson, and the Chiefs, you could say they took a step back by losing Tyreek Hill. But I'm not betting against them just yet in terms of them falling off and all of a sudden not being the dominant team that we've seen the last few years. And so I think this is a division, honestly, it sounds crazy, but you could be a 10-win team and be in 4th place in this division. I think all 4 of these teams, are playoff caliber teams. And so they could have the same record they had last year, 10-7, and be 4th, And so it's kind of tough. It's all projection at this point. Maybe the division isn't as good as we all think it's going to be. Injuries happen, things of that nature. But if it lives up to the hype, it's going to be tough going out there. I think it's going to be more so about, rather than, them improving their record or whatever it may be, is those divisional games. Every year they're important, obviously, but especially this year. I think in the AFC in general is going to be a really tight race. If they can get the edge on their divisional opponents, they can go a long way towards their effort to try to make the playoffs.
That's Tashan Reed covering the Raiders for The Athletic. First chance I've had to talk to you since coming into the market, Tashan. Really appreciate the time. Enjoyed the conversation. Look forward to following the Raiders with you over at The Athletic all season long, man. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you having me on, man.
There's Tashan Reed joining me on Cattles and Ramie here on Sactown Sports 1140. I really do. I get like a little tingle that the football season is over. I won't tell you where the tingle is, but I get a little tingle that the football season is starting and the offseason is officially over for the NFL with the Raiders and a few other teams reporting today. After this, I'm going to tell you about ESPN's lineup today, but it will not be an endorsement. It's Cattles